Hey guys, Troy here with Cape Conversations, and I've got a lively one for us today. I've got Al Temkin of Al Temkin Productions. Al, I'm going to let you jump in and tell your story about how you service this community. You take it from here.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to meet you guys and to share my story, as you said, with those who are listening. So, um, let me, in terms of how I serve the community, that's a fairly simple answer in the sense that my work and as Al Temkin Productions, I do MC work and I do live auctioneering. Many times those are combined, but there are times when an organization simply needs an MC to kind of manage an event and manage a group of speakers or whatever it happens to be that's going on. And there are other times somebody just needs a live auctioneer, but most times it's a combination of those two things. Um, and that's with all different kinds of organizations, mostly on the nonprofit side, although there have been some that aren't.
Yeah, so how does one get started in this business?
Very interesting
Because this
answer.
wasn't what you've done as your whole career necessarily.
It is not. I spent almost 50 years in the financial services industry, and retired from that actually this past April. And but it's kind of an interesting story. So a buddy of mine up on the North Shore, his name was Don Kelly, and most of the people who will listen to this podcast will recognize that name. Don was a very, very popular North Shore guy. And Don was the go-to guy for auctioneering or MC work or running something, whatever it was. He was the guy. He was very talented and very good at it. And as time went on, we got a little friendly, and I do some public speaking and things like that. And he used to say to me, "Hey, you need to do this with me. You need to come to these events and do this with me."
He bamboozled you into like letting
He
him
tried
retire.
to. He tried to. And I kept saying, Don, it's not my gig, and you are so good at this. You don't need me. Just keep doing what you do. You're raising a boatload of money for all kinds of organizations. Do your thing. Well, unfortunately, Don was one of the very first people in the state of Massachusetts to supposedly die of COVID. Now, I don't know whether it was COVID or not, but he did die. I do know that back in March of 2020. And amazingly, I started getting phone calls from the organizations that he annually was doing the auctions for. And I can remember the first few calls saying, you do realize I've never done this. I don't do this. Yeah, but your name came up and somebody said, so I started. And thinking back on the first couple of three of them, they were so bad. It was, I wouldn't have spent any money at any of those auctions.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But it's like anything else. You gain some experience, you read some stuff, you do a little bit of training, and I'm not perfect, but I think I've brought it to a level that we're raising money for a bunch of organizations right now, and I'm getting callbacks for the second year, and in two or three cases, the third year now in a row that they've asked me to MC and sell stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I'm with you on the it's never perfect when you first start. I mean, as a podcaster host here, we're still always, working out the kinks ourselves. So I feel you there, and it is really for anybody that's on the edge of trying to start something. It really is just a stick to itiveness that that's the only way you're going to learn is just by doing it.
Exactly right. Yep.
Give us a little bit of an insight as to who some of these events are. So the listeners here can put themselves in the shoes of, well, I may need this service. I'm imagining you mentioned not for profits.
Hmm.
Not for profits are always doing their gala nights and their fundraising nights, and there's a bunch of people there that need to be coerced to open up their wallets,
Yep.
and that's on the auctioneer side.
Right.
But give us some more examples so the listeners can, open up their own pocketbooks here.
So, as an example, and thank you for asking, on October 3rd, I'll be doing Frankie's Voice. This will be my third year back with Frankie's Voice. The Raffa family out of Beverly is a wonderful, wonderful family. And sadly and unfortunately, Frankie Jr. Succumbed to an overdose back in 2015. And so since then, his family has this fundraiser every single year, and all the money raised goes to the School for Recovery in Beverly, where Frankie spent quite a bit of time. But they have me back now for a third year, and that one's a little bit different of an audience because most people are coming for their respect for Frank Senior, Frank Raffa, to support him, and while supporting the Raffa family, while supporting those who are in recovery.
Hmm.
So this is the third year I'm doing that. Again, he was one of the first calls I got after Don passed, and I said Frank. He said, no, 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 you're gonna do, and he's had me back now. This is the third year. So that's kind of an interesting kind of situation. I have two others that are coming up later on in October. Care Dimensions, hospice care. In fact, my wife volunteers at hospice care quite a bit. This will be my second year doing their auction, and the following night I have the NAN project, which is a program to for prevention of suicide. And this is I did it first last year. They're having me back again this year. That's a big one. There'll be probably 300 people at Danversport, excuse me, and that's both MC and auctioneering. So I'll manage the night. In fact, I'm working with the committee now and setting everything up. I'll manage that night, introducing the speakers, and all of the things that go with running the event, and then we'll do the live auction.
Yep.
Now, interestingly enough, I got a call last week from a friend of mine in Beverly, and she said to me, Al, she said, we have this event coming up. This is for LifeBridge. We have this thing coming up, and usually every year, one of the people in the group gets up and does a paddle raise. She said, but we kind of thought it might make more sense to bring somebody in that has some experience with this. What do you think? So I said, I'd love to do it. When? She said, oh, it's next Thursday. this, was, this was last week. I said, Lindsay, I said, okay, you know what? I've got the date and I'm going to give it to you because I adore you. I said, but if we're going to do this again, do me a favor. Give me some notes. Oh, no, I
Yeah.
know, I know. So I'm doing that Thursday, tomorrow night.
What is a good amount of time somebody needs to give you for a heads up? Because there is probably a little bit of planning, a little bit of like you got to manage the night. You know, even if you're just auctioneering, you kind of get roped into being the MC,
Yeah, yeah.
and so it's like, all right, well, we need to have an event timeline and stuff. So, what is a good time frame ahead of an event?
So a great example is the NAN project. That's a good size one. Again, there'll be about 300 people there. Last year we did. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I believe it was somewhere around $200,000. Um, so she hired me. Um, Actually, she hired me at the end of the program last year. So I got hired a year ago. We started working. We just had our second or third meeting this week with dates for. So when I get involved with an organization, there's a couple things that are important to me. Number one is I want to be involved with planning the event. So I want to be at all committee meetings. I want to be a participant at those committee meetings, and I want to be able to express an opinion on different things, timing, placing of speakers, and all that type of thing. Um, that's important to me. And then beyond that um, is to be very prepared. So I'm going to give you an example. I did a program in June, and the name of the program, it's a nonprofit, and the name of it is Gifts That Matter. A friend of mine introduced me to the people who run it, and they ended up hiring me to MC and be the auctioneer. So this was also at Dansport, and the same thing was big. There was probably 250-ish people in the room. Now I had never heard of this not-for-profit before. Never heard of it. So I feel my role is to know what I'm talking about
Right.
when I am standing in front of a crowd. So I go on the website and I learned about this awesome organization and actually picked out a couple of things that are on the website that I used in my presentation to motivate people, if you will, to put their hands in their pockets.
Yep.
So it's the neatest thing because um, by me, I happen to believe that I don't think it's difficult to be an auctioneer. You have to know your audience and you got to kind of pick on some people and do some stuff. But I don't think I think it's something that most people that have the gift of gab, like you and me, could do.
Yeah.
I think what separates me, what makes me different and unique in the industry, is that I believe it needs to be a show. I believe people need to have fun at this thing. They got to feel good. They have to be thinking, what's he going to do next? Oh my God, I don't want this guy anywhere near me. Oh yeah, come on over, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go have some banter, and that can be a lot of fun. Um, but I think people need to have a good time because my objective is obviously to raise as much money as I possibly can. But I want that crowd walking out that door thinking, wow, I donated to this thing, so I feel good about that. But I had a great time. That
Right.
guy's crazy. So
Exactly.
that's what I want.
You're the professional at finding the weak link in the crowd that
Absolutely.
that you can get this whole thing going, and then just feeding off of that. And
Well, and you got to be careful, and I understand that. So if I am standing up there and I see a face like yours that's engaged, that's looking at me, that's smiling into it, I'm going to come over to you. I'm going to throw my hand on your shoulder. We're going to have some banter back and forth because I know I can do that. As compared to the woman sitting next to you, and as soon as she looks in my eyes, she looks down.
yeah,
Well, I'm going to stay away. I'm not going to embarrass anybody, so
yeah.
I'm going to stay away, and I'm not going to be involved in that. So. Um, so it's just a fun, a fun thing to do.
You said something earlier that I thought was important for people that maybe are even early on in planning some of these events, that you want to be involved. Now you're doing these events every day. So when you get involved in the planning of the event, you're bringing a bunch of third party experience to this. It's like, guys, I did 14 of these events last month for not for profits, similar in need as you, but with different focuses. You're bringing so much to that event planning. That's probably the value just in and of itself. And then you actually do all of the work too, which is the MC, which I can admit, I think there's a lot of people out there that are just like deathly afraid of the public speaking
Oh,
aspect of it.
sure, of course.
And being able to offload that to someone who's super comfortable
Hmm.
is worth it. But it does make a difference. I mean, you talk about Danversport. Back in the day, I used to work for a company called East Boston Savings Bank, and we ran Big Night there. And we had somebody, I think, from our organization that would MC it. But they'd bring people up and they would talk and tell stories, and they'd make them, auction one thing off or get it going, and then kick them out, and then start take over the auction because they're terrible at it, and then they show how good they are. And it's a show, to your
It
point,
it should be a show in my opinion.
and it's fun. Like,
It should be fun. So, but it's interesting because there are some organizations that don't want to show. I just recently had a conversation with somebody about the possibility of doing something, and it's a program that I happen to have sponsored over the years and attended. So I've been there, I've seen it. The auctioneer that they have brought in used to be this guy that came in was really good. I thought really good at it. And the past couple of years, I've had this woman who was also very good at it. But in both cases, standing on the podium, selling whatever the thing was, and waiting for the next thing to come up. So I said to this Allison that I was talking to, I said, Allison, just a heads up as you're talking with your committee, if you're looking for that, somebody just to be on a stage or be at a podium selling whatever it is you're selling, I'm probably not your guy. You probably wouldn't want to stick with the woman that did the job last year, and she did a great job. So she said, well, like, what do you mean? I said, what I mean is, I want to be in the audience. I want to be with the people.
yeah,
I said, I'm a people guy. I want to be able to banter with people. I want to have some fun. I just want to enjoy the time. But more importantly, I want that crowd to enjoy the time. It'd be difficult. And I said, I can make it work, but it would be difficult for me if I'm standing at a podium or even just on a stage. I can walk back and forth on a stage, but I need to be moving. I want to be, glad handing. I want to be kissing babies and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to kiss anybody, but the point is just be in the crowd,
yeah.
and to be a part of it. So haven't heard back from her yet. So I don't know. We'll see.
I have to imagine raises more money. I mean, I've been to events with a good MC and a good auctioneer before, and it's like there's a story that you tell that brings people to donating more money in most cases for this. It's
Hmm.
like one of the problems that these events have is, it's a not for profit, so people donate a ton of different things, Bruins tickets or a trip or whatever it may be. And its technical face value is X,
Hmm.
and they got it for free, and they should get at least the face value for this. But it's a not for profit. You should really be getting more than the face value
Right.
of this. And that's where like a good MC comes in and extracts that because they tell the story. It's like, hey, these aren't 2 tickets to Aerosmith at Fenway for you guys. That face value is $300 for these. This is saving babies, and you get to go to Aerosmith. We need this to be at $600.
Yeah.
Who's putting up the first $500 to get this thing going? And it's like rolls, rolls,
Well,
rolls.
it does, and that's all audience dependent. And a big part of my, as I'm helping the organization plan for the event, is you need to have some people that or you've asked to spend some money. Get those paddles up.
Right.
I did one back in June, another one back in June. We were at Kernwood, and in addition to the fact that the setup was horrible, they just did not. They did not have me participate in the setup, which they've already hired me back for next year. And I said we're going to talk about that because it was terrible. But I had one half of the room with nobody bidding. No, nobody was bidding. It was the strangest thing. This half was bidding, and every time I looked over, and I'm trying to, I finally had one woman who's, I think she had a little bit to drink. She was there was some particular thing I was selling. She gave a bid. Somebody else gave a bid. She outbid that bid. Then she outbid herself. So I had to say to her, "Are you bidding against yourself?"
I want it so bad.
All of a sudden, her husband's hand comes out of the crowd, and he puts his hand on her forearm and kind of sits her down. He's like, "Stop!" So it was kind of funny. But you really need to know your crowd, work the crowd,
Got
have
to
some
have your
fun with the crowd.
plant. You got to have your plant on that one
You
side to
really
get
do.
that side going. Can we beat the other side on this so you can work the whole crowd?
Well, you can try to do that, and sometimes but the whole key to this thing is when it's not working, you got to come up with Plan B while you're on your feet in the crowd selling stuff. You got to keep this thing going, and I'm there for a reason. I'm there to raise money, so I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that happens. I'm going to reach that objective.
There's probably a real uplift from having a professional like you do this. Is there like a I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there like a range of costs? Because every night can be different. Somebody could have you come in for an hour, and it's a simple thing, versus a 400 person major event. Is there is there a range you can kind of give people
Yeah. So
just to break the ice with people?
yeah. So it really depends. So typically, I won't even enter a discussion for less than $2,500. For me to be involved in all these meetings for planning, then to be there that night for a few hours to do what I need to do, um, that's just that's the minimum.
Yeah.
Now, is there ever a time when it's less than that? Yes. Tomorrow night is one of those situations where she said to me, "Hey, will you just come in and just do a paddle race?" So I'm not selling anything.
Yep.
I wasn't involved in any of the planning because I'm just going in to a paddle race. Probably
Just like paying for hours.
20-minute paddle race or something. So that'll be somewhat less than $2,500. Um, Now, and I'm talking to a couple of very large organizations that run big events. In both cases, you're talking about somewhere in between a half a million and $1 million that they typically raise in years past. Those are going to be considerably larger numbers, for me. But these organizations typically have a larger budget for a me.
Yeah. It ends up kind of being a percentage of what gets raised at some level because of the work, but
Right.
they're seeing that back in spades just by how much more a good MC can get out of the people.
That's the objective.
That's
Sure.
really what it boils down
Sure.
to.
Sure.
Let's take a moment and sort of list off some of these events and some of these places that people can do. So we or reiterate them because we've talked a lot about a lot of them. So like for me, I've been to these at corporate events. My own corporate companies doing a once a year event, whether it's giving away things for the Christmas party to their own employees, and they want to have somebody just MC the night, pull people up on stage to tell stories, to give thanks to employees, that type of thing. I've been to corporate auction events where I think it was for Huntington Bank. We were raising money for a bike race that we did. We had an auctioneer for that where they brought in a bunch of normal gear, and we as the employees sort of fundraised with it. You got the traditional not-for-profits. You have a lot of these not-for-profit schools that do stuff like this as well. Give me some more examples of events that you're emceeing maybe as well. You do
Yeah.
weddings?
So no, I have not
I was
done
gonna say that.
weddings. The only thing that I really want to do for this listening crowd, I want to officiate a wedding. I really want to do that.
Okay.
My son-in-law just did one actually. One, I have two sons-in-law. Um, one of them just did was officiant at a wedding that we attended. Oh, he killed it. He just killed it. So I'm going to use him as my guide. But I just want to officiate a wedding. It's just something I want to do. But otherwise, no, I don't want to get into weddings and
Yeah.
bar mitzvahs and all that type of thing. Um, but I think that I'm looking forward to working with corporations, like what you just said. I was at an event recently because it's so local. I'm going to not say the name, but um, it was a very, very nice event where some people were being honored. There were some speakers and some things, no MC. And it was a very nice event, but that came through very clear. The president of this board, who was one of the strongest participants in the event, should never have a microphone in his hand at all. He just shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Um,
He
and
should be called up by you, running the sequence of events for the night,
exactly.
and be given his opportunity to do his part in the night, and then let a professional do
Well,
it.
as an example, so in this particular city, the mayor got up, said a few words, introduced one of the award honorees, said stuff about the honoree. Did a nice job. Said this is who this is. This is why he's being recognized. Brought him up, handshake, picture, perfect, done very well. This guy that I'm speaking about went up and basically just went up and said, "Oh, I picked up the award and said this is for John Smith. John, come on up." John came up. He handed him the award. John turned around, went back to his seat, and this guy went on to something different. If I had been the MC there, as soon as he was done, I would have gone back up and I would have brought John back up. And I would have said, let me tell you a little bit about John as to why he got there. I sat there. I didn't know the guy that got the award. I don't know anything about him. I don't know why he got the award, and no one else did either. So my point is that I think sometimes it just makes sense to cough up a couple of extra bucks, have somebody manage all through that. Because somebody like me, I'm going to be so prepared by the time I get there. There's nobody going to get through that people aren't going to know, and there's nobody that's going to get through relative to the amount of time they should be speaking and what they should be saying. Where if I have to come back up and reiterate some of the stuff, I know I need to do that. And in this case, that didn't happen, and I think the crowd missed a lot. In fact, I said to the person who did run it for the following week, I bumped into him. I said, you might want to think about whether it's me or somebody else, having somebody there manage this.
Yeah, if you're going through the process of recognizing someone, you kind of want the crowd to be able to learn from all of the good deeds that they did that was worth being recognized for.
You want that crowd to say, "I need to know that guy."
And I need, if it's like your employees, it's like I need my employees to act in these similar behaviors that are worth recognizing.
Yep,
And so this is my opportunity to say how this person stood out.
yep. I mean,
Right there with you.
yeah, it was
That makes
just it was
sense.
the craziest thing. So I felt so bad for that guy, but but anyway, that's what I think an MC brings to the table. It's the planning, it's the preparation, it's understanding who's going to talk about what, it's understanding how long it's going to be, it's understanding and knowing when the crowd is bored to tears that I need to come back up and tell a joke or do something, get people up and going, and
Yep.
all of that type of thing. And so I'm looking forward to more opportunities to do that as well. Yeah.
Perfect segue. How do people get in touch with you? What's the preferred method? If somebody has an event coming up and they're like, "Oh, this could be it. This could be the thing I was looking for. This gets me off the hook of being on the mic myself."
Yep. Yep.
What do they do? Do they go to the website? What's the website?
Yes, the easiest way is go right to the website, which is Al Temkin, no P, Al Temkin Productions .com. Right on the website is all of my information. Everything is there. The organizations I've been working with are there. There are a bunch of testimonials from people that I've worked with. There's a pile of Google reviews on there as well, and there's a booking form.
So fill out that booking form. You guys will connect. It's free to have a discussion, to learn
Absolutely
about
free.
their
Yes.
event,
Yeah.
um, and maybe even come out and see them, meet with them, something like that. You guys will figure out how to schedule those next steps. But that should really be done months in advance of the event, if possible.
Well, absolutely, because you want to make sure that I have the date available.
Yeah.
I have bookings right now for late April, May, and June. I'm booked at these different dates.
Yeah.
So, it's important to get out ahead of that. But and all the information that you really need in terms of who I am and what I do is on that site. There will be some additional videos and things on that site soon. I do have a B-roll of something I've done in the past, and I use that a little bit. But we're going to be, adding some things to the site so that people can just go right there, click here, see 90 seconds of what I do, and determine if I'm the guy that they want to have at their event.
If there's an event out, like how far would it travel outside of Massachusetts if it's all planned appropriately, or
If it's all planned appropriately, and so in that case, my fee is my fee to do the event, but then there'd have to be expenses for travel, uh, put me up, feed me. As you can see, I don't miss too many meals, so so there have to be that would as long as people are willing to pay for that, if they want me, then I'm there. It's
but
fine.
most of your stuff is in and around Massachusetts North
Most of it
Shore within
is.
an hour and a half of.
I spend the winters in Naples, Florida. So I'm also involved down there and meeting people and doing something. So I will be doing some work down there as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good to know.
yeah.
Al, I appreciate you coming on here. I can't wait to go to one of these events because I think they're fun. And I usually am somebody that does bid for something because I get baited into it out of the crowd because my energy's there, you know?
Yeah, you probably should not have told me that, but that's okay. I'm not going to forget.
So I'll see you at one of these events. Maybe you'll
Love
run
it.
the next chamber event or something.
Love it, love it, love it.
I appreciate you coming on. Good work.
I appreciate you having me. It's a pleasure talking with you, and I'm happy to talk with anybody who wants more information.
Thanks, bud. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Thank you.